Hey guys, it's Nefandis. Halloween is almost upon us. The stores have been filling their shelves with all kinds of decorations, candy, and costumes. Speaking of costumes, how did all that begin anyway? Who was it behind the idea of dressing up as spooky things and going door to door to get candy? Well, the origin of Halloween dates back over 2,000 years to the ancient Celts. They had a festival that was held November 1st to mark the end of the harvest season and the beginning of the darker half of the year, winter. This Celtic festival was called Samhain, and it wasn't just about gathering up the harvest, slaughtering livestock, and storing food for the winter. It was also the point in time that happened once a year, where it was believed that the veil between the living and the dead was at its thinnest. Celtic priests and druids would be able to communicate with the spirit world in order to receive fortunes told to them for the coming year. These spirits could come through easily, and some people, with the hopes of avoiding them, would dress up as spooky things to scare them off, or as ghosts themselves to blend in with them. At this point in time, trick-or-treating wasn't a thing yet. The only treats that were handed out were those set out as offerings, and this was on the night before Samhain on October 31st. These consisted of food and drink in order to appease dead relatives, ancestors, and any other spirit who happened to wander by. In the Middle Age era, it was mostly adults and some of the poor children of town that would go from house to house and offer up prayers to the family members of the residents. These prayers were for their dead relatives, because in Celt belief in those days, when you passed away, your soul went to purgatory and was trapped there. The only way out, rather than purging your sins away, was with prayer. This act of going house to house and praying for dead souls was given the name souling appropriately. There were even little cakes made for the occasion, called soul cakes, and the recipe for them is still around. I've added it below if you're interested. I haven't made them yet, so I'm not sure how good they are. If you make them, make sure and let me know. Okay, back to the story. The act of souling was mainly perpetuated by adults who were poor, but eventually it became something only the children would do. The origin of wearing a costume began in Scotland, where the children went door to door and they would wear a disguise. They would burn cork and paint their faces and even wear animal skins for their costumes, which led to the name souling being changed to guising for disguise. While in these disguises, it was believed that if you were spooky, you could scare away the evil spirits that surrounded you Samhain night. And if it didn't spook them away, it would help you blend in. So it was a win-win situation. Either way, you wouldn't be bothered by them. After a while, and some time had passed, the children would no longer offer to pray for souls when going door to door. Instead, they would offer some kind of entertainment, sing a song, tell a joke. In payment for this, they would receive coins, fruit, or some sweets. By the 11th century, Christianity took its grasp across Europe's Celtic territory, and with it came its own festivals. The Roman Empire had established November 1st as All Saints' Day in an attempt to replace the Celtic holiday with a Christian one. The pagans were reluctant to give up their celebration. The church, seeing this, integrated it into its own holiday. The night before All Saints' Day would be known as Hallowmas or Hallows' Eve, eventually becoming what we know it today, Halloween. All Saints' Day. This day was originally made to pay honor to Christian saints and martyrs, but it eventually became a day to commemorate all the dead. When the European Catholics fled Europe due to the potato famine in the 1800s, they immigrated to America, bringing along with them their tradition of guising. The children would make their own costumes and put on their performances for their treats. It wasn't until the 1920s in America where the first trick was ever recorded. Some tricks were small, such as using a bar of soap to write on windows or blur them up, and some tricks were not. Vandalism and assault would occasionally take place, and some would pull pranks, blaming the mischief on the spirits that would creep into the world for that one night. So, in the 30s, in an attempt to control all this mischief, going door to door would become a neighborhood thing, a community-based affair, and thus trick-or-treating was started. When World War II had begun, Sugar became something that was rationed out, and candy was hard to get. Some places in the United States even abolished Halloween during that time, until the war was completely over. After it ended, Halloween picked right back up again, and with comic strips like the Peanuts running in the newspaper, featuring characters trick-or-treating, this was the beginning of pop culture that helped Halloween become what it is today. I really enjoyed putting this video together for you guys and learning about the history of trick-or-treating and costumes and how it all came about. If you enjoyed it too, please leave a like, and as always, thanks for watching.